When the sun goes down, the stars come out. From deep in the heart of Texas, it's the Star at Night. Coming to you from the Cowboys facility at the Star in Frisco. With your hosts, Kelsey Charles and David Hellman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Star at Night. I'm your host, Kelsey Charles, joined by David Hellman. Dave, typically on a Wednesday, we are breaking down the upcoming game, but today we are going to be breaking down last night's game, and I add an emphasis of a question mark there because I'm not quite sure what we witnessed. There were a lot of terrible stats coming out of the evening, special teams struggles, rushing defense performing horribly, just all across the board. I'm sure you've got some stats up your sleeves that are going to be less than flattering. So where do we even begin in this abysmal outing by the Dallas Cowboys team?
What if we just begin with previewing the next game? Like, why? Why do we have to? Why do we have to talk about that? And I'm barely kidding because, I feel like I'm in a time warp from October. Like, we're back to watching the same atrocious Cowboys. It looked like they had turned that corner, and maybe they weren't the best team in the world, but they were playing decent football. Hard to say that after you get run out of Baltimore 34-17, 294 rushing yards allowed, let Lamar Jackson go off, let basically every running back on the Ravens roster go off, 3 missed field goals from Greg Zuerlein. We can go on and on and on, but my point is we don't have to, Kelsey. We don't have to if we don't want to. We can just talk about the Bengals
Pretend
and move
like it
on
didn't
with our
happen.
lives. It's not so much that, like, we don't have to pretend like it didn't happen. It's just, it is what it is. The Cowboys are 3-9. They got their butt kicked for a second straight game. And, like, what else is there really to say at this point except that this is a bad football team?
Yeah, I think there's so many things you can take away from this game, and not many of them are good. I was looking for little victories, and I was so excited about the prospect of Dez Bryant facing off against his former team. Granted, we know he's not the same Dez that he was when he was in a Cowboys uniform, but just the storyline in itself. I know.
Didn't even get that.
2020 is a thief of joy. So there, we start off on the wrong foot already. Lamar Jackson, we're all thinking, well, he's been off a few weeks and he's going to be a little bit rusty. Granted, he was, but he still surpassed Kyler Murray for the most rushing yards for a quarterback this season. And not to mention that pretty sweet run that he totally faked out LVE. Faking out LVE to begin with, that's where you can tell something's wrong. And all in all, it was very sad to me to watch this team crumble when the opportunities presented themselves to them. And like you said, I kind of don't know what else to say.
Because there is nothing to say. The fact that this is still happening in December of the season, which I don't want to knock Lamar Jackson. He's the reigning MVP. He's a great player. But, it's not even like he had to do anything hard. He ran in a straight line, untouched, 37 yards for a touchdown. He throws a wide open touchdown pass to Miles Boykin, like nobody's covering him. Like, you gotta challenge the other team to excel in football, in the NFL. At least you would prefer. And the Ravens were just kind of like, well, thank you. This is great. Like, we love not having to work that hard. We'll call it an early Christmas present for the Baltimore Ravens. And you know what? If you want a little victory, Kels, it's that we don't have to wait 11 more days for the next one. Like, we can just sort of get on this roll. They're going to play again in 4 days, and maybe we'll be done with this thing eventually.
All right, so while Dez Bryant didn't actually make it onto the field for this game, he did make his way onto Twitter, and he had some interesting things to say. So we're going to go ahead and break that down coming up next.
Hi guys, Mickey Spagnola here, and if you want the best analysis on the Dallas Cowboys during the season, join us every day during the week on Mick Shots. We come on at 1:30 on DallasCowboys.com and all the other Dallas Cowboy platforms. I'm on there every day along with Bill Jones and former Cowboys cornerback Everson Walls, who gives us a unique perspective on the team, having played this game and having led this team in interceptions for several years. So don't forget, it's Mick Shots Daily, 1:30 on DallasCowboys.com.
Welcome back to the show, y'all. Kels, I think you said it in the first segment. It's just very fitting of this no good, terrible, god-awful year that perhaps the one bright spot in an early December matchup against the Baltimore Ravens is that we would get to see Dez Bryant go against his old team. Been waiting to see the guy play for 3 years. Been talking about this matchup since he signed with the Ravens last month. And he is yanked off the field unceremoniously 25 minutes before kickoff because he tests positive for COVID. Shouts out to the Fox producers who made that very nice pregame segment that was rendered completely irrelevant. We are so sorry. But you know what? Dez Bryant always delivers because even from the sideline, he might have been the most entertaining thing about that game. Thank you so much for Dez Bryant's Twitter. Kels, please tell me what you made of Dez basically live tweeting this Cowboys-Ravens game.
I mean, it's 2020. It's the year of players breaking their own news because that's exactly how we heard that he wouldn't be playing in the game. He literally tweeted out, "They pulled me from warmups to test me, and it came back positive. WTF." So apparently what happened is that in the morning, they test all the players on game day to make sure they're all good to go. I guess his test was inconclusive, but the team didn't find out that it was inconclusive until pregame warmups. And they tested him again and pulled him, and it was positive. All that to say, he was not happy about it. And so very emotional, as you see. He's just beside himself. How did this happen? And then he proceeds to say, "I'm done with football for the year. I can't deal with this." I saw that. I don't believe that's going to be true for him. He's a very, very emotional football player, and rightfully so. He cares about this game. But the one tweet that really, really got me was the one where he said, "I'm about to drink some wine and cope." And if that's not a 2020 mood, I don't know what is.
Dez Bryant summed up my entire year with, "I'm about to drink some wine and cope." Absolutely. Which I agree with you. Like, I don't think Dez is actually done, but like the irony could not be lost that during that pregame package that Fox so expertly put together, they had Dez quoted as saying, "I'm not the type that gives up on something." And he's saying that on TV as he's tweeting that he's going to quit for the year. So just not great. Hey, I guess, Dez's team got the win, which if you check in with him after the game, he says that's all that matters. He doesn't care if he gets a catch or if it was a revenge game. He just wanted to make a point. I respect that, Dez, but I think I speak on behalf of Cowboys Nation. It would have been strangely satisfying to see you play. Hopefully that gets to happen.
So while Dez is coping with wine, some of us are coping with this season by looking ahead to the draft. And this is why we brought on draft expert and guru Dane Brugler coming up next.
Hey there, everybody. Kyle Yeomans here with DallasCowboys.com, and I encourage all of you Cowboys fans out there to check out Talking Cowboys. The podcast is every week live on the website and on all social platforms at 9:30 every weekday morning. We've got myself alongside Isaiah Stanback, who's actually won one of those during his playing career as a former Dallas Cowboy. He won it with the Giants, but we'll forgive him for that. We've also got Heckma Harrison along with Dallas Cowboys insider Rob Phillips. It's a ton of fun every weekday morning at 9:30. Check it out on DallasCowboys.com.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the show. I'm Dave. She's Kelsey. And Kels, you're my favorite, but I'm pretty excited about tonight's guest because it's
You're qualifying already.
an old buddy of mine, and one I didn't get to see as much as I would prefer last year, but we are changing that in 2021. So let's welcome in the guru himself, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, currently with The Athletic, but if you didn't know him before that, you're messing up. The absolute king of draft coverage. And look, Dane, I know it's only December, but with the season that the Cowboys have had, Can you blame us for wanting to talk draft a little bit?
Well, I'm excited because I've been wanting to talk draft since July. So I'd say I'm just kind of waiting, and finally people want to talk draft. So it's great for me.
Okay, I want to get into that because the COVID-19 has changed everything for everybody, and yourself included, obviously. I'll get into that, but just, the last time I really got to work with you was when the Cowboys put together this fantastic draft class, and honestly, for the most part, like we're feeling pretty smart about the way that went. I mean, CeeDee Lamb has been an obvious star in the making here. I know, Trayvon Diggs and Tyler Biadasz are hurt right now, but from afar, from way up there in Ohio, what have you seen, good and bad, from this Cowboys draft class?
Yeah, it feels like not too long ago we were getting excited doing the draft show during the draft, and would they actually take CeeDee Lamb there at 17 if he fell that far? And that's what happened. And you have to be pleased with the results. He's playing mostly from the slot, and you're seeing the same things that we saw at Oklahoma. You're seeing quick hands, you're seeing body control, you're seeing a guy that can give defenders the slip. And he's doing it with athleticism. He's doing it with his football IQ. Love the way that he can create after the catch. He needs to cut down on some of those drops, which, that's something that, you see from young ball players. And even with Dak Prescott out, we've seen CeeDee Lamb step up, and just the competitive nature that he has, a guy that plays bigger than he looks. So, yeah, I think Cowboys fans absolutely have reason to be excited about what he means for the offense moving forward. And then on defense, Trevon Diggs, I tell you what, we talked about this during the draft. I think there's a good chance they would have taken him at 17. If CeeDee Lamb weren't there and maybe a few other players weren't there, they get him in the mid-second round, outstanding value, and he showed that. Now, there's a little too much feast or famine with him. He needs to get a little bit better with, the technical aspect of the game. Come back a little bit with that aggressive nature and not take as many chances. But, this is a player who was a wide receiver at one time at Alabama before he moved full-time to corner. So you see the ball skills, you see the size, the speed. You have, with the uncertainty surrounding corner moving forward after this year, I think you can cement one of those starting corner jobs with Diggs. So you have to take a little bit of optimism away, even though he's out the rest of this year with that injury.
So obviously those are two big names that we've discussed a lot this season, and for good reason. But Tyler Biadasz is another guy for me that I unexpectedly, he's gotten a lot more play and action than maybe you would have hoped. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on how he's been able to rise to the challenge, because there's been a lot of movement on this Cowboys O-line this year, and he's had to step in and step up pretty immediately.
Yeah, give him all the credit in the world. I was not a huge fan at Wisconsin because he was not a great athlete, and that gives you pause when you're facing Big Ten defensive tackles one day and then NFL defensive tackles the next. I thought some of that stiffness would show up, but give him credit because his technique is so far and above what you normally see from rookies that's what's really allowed him to make this immediate impact. And you talk to offensive linemen, they'll tell you that that's the biggest difference going college level to the pro level is not that, the size, the power, down the technique. Because at the NFL level, those guys are pros. They play with a very fundamental approach. So as a center, you have to be really technically sound. And he is. He strikes with placement. He does a nice job with his leverage. He keeps his legs pumping in the run game so he can be a drive blocker. And he keeps busy. You love that finishing attitude, which you would expect from a Wisconsin offensive lineman. So all the credit in the world to Biadasz for what he's been able to do, stepping in as a rookie and so far exceeding expectations.
Okay, we're all very happy about the 2020 draft class. It looks really promising. But let's nerd out about 2021 for a sec, because we don't know how we don't know how it's going to play out over this last month quite yet. But the Cowboys appear to be in line for a pretty decent pick. But I'm curious, going back to what I said about the pandemic. Okay, right off the top of my head, like the two of the big names that get associated with the Cowboys right now, early, are Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle out of Oregon, and Micah Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State. But guess what? Neither one of those guys has played a snap in 2020. So as somebody whose job is to evaluate this draft class, you got to kind of feel like your hands are tied by what you don't know right now, right? Or am I exaggerating?
No, I mean, I think that it's unprecedented. I mean, there's so many things about the world right now that are unprecedented, and the draft is one of them with the uncertainty with everything. Players opting out. We don't know what the pre-draft process is going to look like with all-star games, the combine, things like that. And so I think, you just have to roll with the punches. And, I don't think that opting out is going to hurt these players, but you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. You look at Micah Parsons. He opted out when the Big Ten didn't have a season. So, it's not like he was quitting on his team. They weren't going to play football this fall. So he thought, okay, well, I'm going to go pro after the year anyways. I'm just going to go start preparing for that. Now, would you have liked to see him come back and get a little bit better? Sure, because this is a player with Micah Parsons who was a pass rusher and a running back in high school. He moved to linebacker, an off-ball player, as a freshman at Penn State. He didn't start. He had started one game as a freshman at Penn State, still led the team in tackles. Then last year as a sophomore, that's when he really emerged and kind of, you could see with every single game, if you watch the tape in chronological order, you see the light bulb just get brighter and brighter and brighter. The more experience he had, the quicker he would see things, make his reads, key, diagnose, and go and attack. And so Micah Parsons is a really impressive size, speed linebacker who, again, still piecing things together and learning the position, but a guy that's one of the best pure talents in this class. And Penei Sewell, he's one of those guys where I think we saw enough. We didn't need to see another snap from him. There are a few of those guys. Jamar Chase, LSU wide receiver. I don't know if you've heard of him, Dave, but he's another guy who, he's another guy. We didn't need to see anything more from him when he opted out. We know what he is. Back to Sewell, he's just a natural, and this is a young player. He doesn't turn 21 years old until October. It's kind of like Tyron Smith all over again with the age. But he's a natural mover. He's got that big man balance, the flexibility that's just rare for a player his size. I wish he was a little bit meaner. Needs to get a little bit better with the angles and the way he uses his body. But those are things that I think will come with time. Penei Sewell, I'll tell you this. If he's on the board when the Cowboys pick, I don't think they're passing on Penei Sewell. The question will be, is he going to be there? I think he's going to go somewhere in the top 5, and with the Cowboys picking maybe somewhere 3 through 6 through 7, who knows? He's going to be on the short list, no doubt.
All right, so I have to ask you the most cliche question that I am sure that you have been inundated with on Twitter. And I know you can read my mind, or you don't even have to know what's coming out of my mouth here in a second. But obviously this year, Dak Prescott was not signed to a long-term deal. Franchise tag was put in place. It's going to be even more expensive to tag him next season, and I don't even want to talk about what it would look like after that. So tank for Trevor has been a topic of conversation. It's probably not likely unless you get the number 1 pick, so you got to fight the Jets for that one at the moment. But top 5, top 10 is pretty reasonable for this Dallas Cowboys team right now. And from what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, this could be a pretty top-heavy draft class in terms of the quarterback situation. Justin Fields is another guy up there, too. I mean, there's multiple if you want to go on the list. Is quarterback a viable, a reasonable, a smart decision for this Dallas Cowboys team as a target this year?
Well, just in terms of the quarterbacks, you're hit the nail on the head when you talk about the strength of this class being a very top-heavy group. Trevor Lawrence is going to go number 1. It's just, is it to the Jets or is it to the Jaguars? Those are the 2 teams with a realistic chance of being number 1. And then after that, there's a lot of split opinion about quarterbacks 2, 3, and 4. The order of those guys, and there's going to be no consensus. So one team might have it Justin Fields from Ohio State, Zach Wilson from BYU, Trey Lance from North Dakota State. But then you talk to another team, and it might be flipped to rearrange the order based off of just preference and what you're looking for at the quarterback position. So it's a really talented group. But in terms of the order, the ranking, I think there's a lot of split opinion. In regards to the Cowboys, I don't know. I have a really tough time seeing them drafting a quarterback top 5. I know Dak Prescott's unsigned, or at least he's on the franchise tag. We don't know what's going to happen this offseason. Will they be able to come to a deal? Time's going to tell on that. But I just, these guys are lottery tickets. We haven't seen them take an NFL snap. we know what Dak Prescott is. And I just, with Jerry Jones, he's a 78-year-old owner who's not really looking to rebuild and try to develop a quarterback. He knows what he has in Dak Prescott. I will be shocked if they take a quarterback top 5. But on the flip side, it's a positive that this is a top-heavy quarterback class for a team like the Cowboys, because then you can start talking about trade scenarios, and there could be other teams. You look at the Panthers, you look at the 49ers, the Patriots, the Bears. There's a lot of teams who could potentially get up in that top 5 looking for a quarterback. And the Cowboys, you're going to leave that phone, you're going to keep the phone lines open. Take some of those calls, see if a trade back fits for what your board looks like. And maybe you can think you can pick up some extra draft capital in the process.
Yes, Dane, I need you to speak it into existence. Give us some picks to work with when the
Manifest
spring
that.
rolls around. Okay, which,
Yeah.
Obviously, we've been working together for 6 or 7 years at this point. I got one more for you, and then I'm going to let you go. But my favorite thing to do is put you on the spot. It's my absolute,
Okay.
It's just my joy in life. So we don't know where the Cowboys are going to pick. Let's just, for the sake of this, let's say it's in the top 15 somewhere, top 12 somewhere. We know about Sewell from Oregon. We know about Micah Parsons. We know about the big quarterbacks. And we know about Patrick Surtain Jr. coming out of Alabama, the cornerback. Give me another name that I haven't heard as an intriguing / talented option for the Cowboys in that range.
Well, I think if they want to get really fun, throw Kyle Pitts in that mix. That'd be a lot of fun. He's one of the best talents in this class. I don't know that they would do that. Draft a tight end. He's more of a big slot receiver than a traditional tight end, but that'd be a lot of fun. I think maybe the more realistic pick here would be Caleb Farley, the Virginia Tech corner, who is really, really intriguing. He was a high school quarterback who goes to Virginia Tech as a wide receiver. They moved him in the corner, had never played corner before the 2018 season. But he was just a natural. He had 2 picks in his first career game there against Florida State. A 6'2" athlete who's going to run in the 4.4s, has natural ball skills. A kind of a similar conversation with Trevon Diggs, a former offensive player who just made that natural transition, who he opted out this season. Another guy you wish you could have seen him on the field to see him developing it better and better. But the upside of Caleb Farley has a lot of teams pretty excited. So I think that would fit with what the Cowboys might be looking for with a top 10 pick.
Kels, let's go ahead and clip this out so that, months from now, when Dane winds up being right, we can say you heard it here first.
It's going to be in here.
Absolutely.
He's going to have a really great write-up. And we got to talk about this before we let you go, because Dane Brugler is amazing and brilliant in all the things and a wonderful human being.
Won't argue
but
with you.
Also, he has created the Bible of all sports Bibles. And if you do not have your hands on this, you need to get one. Every draft you put together, the Beast, you call it the NFL, the 2020 NFL Draft Guide is what it says here, but we call it the Beast. When does this come out? Tell the good people a little bit about this so they can get their hands on it as they start to dive into this upcoming draft season.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the kind words. It's something I work on year round. I take a lot of pride in the fact that if a player's drafted, he's going to be in there, and not just his stats. It's all analysis. It's all the workout numbers. It's all background information. How many games did he start as a freshman? What's his age, his birth date? I mean, everything is in there. I take a lot of pride in the details, and not just the top guys. The players that'll be top 10 picks, but the 7th rounders, the guys that are undrafted free agents. Take a lot of pride in that. So it's a year-round project, and yeah, if you're interested in the NFL draft at all, I promise you will not be disappointed with the draft guide. And all you need is a subscription to The Athletic to get your hands on it. So usually about a month out from the draft is when I usually release it. So that first week in April, and that's looking like it'll be the same this year. So I can't wait.
He did a better job plugging it than I ever could. But yes, you can find all of Dane's work at The Athletic. You get the draft guide with the subscription. Well worth it. And this year, He'll be back with us on DallasCowboys.com doing the draft show. We got an all-star cast. I'm very excited about it. So Dane Brugler's not going anywhere in 2021. You will see more of him. You will see more of me and Kelsey right after this.
What's up, guys? I'm Ember Garcia and just want to invite you to check out Cowboys Break every day at 11:30 a.m. You got the boss man, Derek Eagleton. You got Nick Eatman with the storytelling If These Walls Could Talk. You got David Hellman, our local LSU homer and eyebrow rubber. And then you got me, who just calls it as it is. So make sure to check us out at 11:30 a.m. on all Dallas Cowboys platforms.
All right, Dave. So while this team is not doing well on the field, they are doing some good off the field. The annual My Cause, My Cleats program happened for this team this week. I don't know about you, but it's one of my favorites. I love seeing the cleats that have been designed and the charities that they're benefiting.
Dope cleats are fun. Raising money for good causes is fun. My only real complaint is I wish they did this more often than just this 1 week. But yeah, it's great.
Thank you. All right, so if you're interested in A, looking at the cleats, or B, getting your hands on them, you can head over to NFL.com and check them all out, /bid on them. All the proceeds will go to the benefiting charities. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate you tuning in. For David Hellman, I am Kelsey Charles. This has been another episode of The Star at Night.